Morning sunlight slices through the tall courthouse windows and etches sharp lines on the polished floors. The silence is almost suffocating, heavy with tension that hangs in the air. Kody Brown walks in, his posture straight but stiff, each step echoing in the large chamber. His face is a mask of carefully veiled composure, but his hands tell another story. They tremble against the edge of the wooden podium. He can feel the weight of every eye in the room on him. This is not just any other hearing. It is a storm waiting to erupt, a collision of secrets, accusations, and family loyalty. Behind Kody, the wives sit in a row that feels almost ceremonial. Yet each woman carries her own invisible storm. Robyn's fingers are tightly interwoven, knuckles pale, her breathing shallow as if preparing for impact. Christine leans back slightly, jaw rigid, sharp eyes flicking between Kody and the opposing lawyer, simmering with unspoken resentment. Janelle sits quietly, but her fingers nervously drum against her knee, giving away anxiety, and Meri stares at the floor, elsewhere in her head, lost in the gravity of what might unravel. She has always been the silent observer, but today, even silence is fragile, like glass ready to shatter. The judge enters, a figure of calm authority, and the room stills instantly. Every rustle, every shuffle stops as the gavel comes down with a crisp, resonant sound. The walls seem to close in slightly, as if aware that what will happen here could change everything. Cameras click from the gallery, but in this moment, no one notices the flashes. Everyone is too absorbed in the tension hovering over the Brown family, a tension almost tangible, like static electricity in the air. The hearing begins, and the lawyer for the opposing side rises with a confidence bordering on arrogance. "Your Honor," he begins, voice sharp and measured, "we have evidence which puts in question the decision-making within this family when it comes to custody and household responsibilities. Evidence which may show partiality, secret alliances, and a betrayal of trust." His words cut through the air of the room. Murmurs ripple through this gallery, and the Brown family shifts uncomfortably in their seats. Robyn leans into Kody, her voice a whisper, almost drowned out by the heavy silence in the courtroom. "Stay calm. No matter what they say, don't let them provoke you. Breathe." Her words are soft, but the trembling of her hands and slight quiver in her voice speak volumes of the anxiety she's trying desperately to keep masked. Kody nods subtly, swallowing hard, his lips pressed tightly together. He knows that even a flicker of emotion could tip the scale against him. First up is a close family friend, privy to the in-depth dynamics within the Brown household. Their testimony is awaited with a mix of dread and hope. The atmosphere shifts, heavier now, charged with expectation as they approach the stand. The opposing lawyer addresses them first, voice unflinching. "Have you ever witnessed conflicts between Kody and Robyn concerning Christine?" The word conflicts falls like a pebble in a still pond, and the ripples are immediate. Robyn flinches, her eyes widening slightly. Christine's gaze snaps toward her, a flash of suspicion crossing her features. Kody's hands clench into fists, knuckles white against his sides. The friend hesitates, swallowing audibly before nodding. "Yes, on several occasions," they admit, voice trembling slightly under the courtroom's scrutiny. At times, the court veers between the tense testimony and Kody's internal thoughts, painting a vivid picture of what's at stake. He remembers the sleepless nights attempting to iron out conflicts, the quiet apologies to each wife after arguments, the silent promises to himself that he would hold the family together no matter what. But now such efforts seem fragile, almost pointless, under the relentless scrutiny of the courtroom. Robyn leans toward him, whispering again to Kody, "We can get through this, together." This time, her voice comes out even, but her eyes speak volumes of fear and hope intertwined. Christine's face firms up, and her lips press into a thin line. With each word the witness speaks, it's like each brick is being laid down, forming a wall of tension between the wives. Janelle's fingers dig deeper into her knees, and Meri's shoulders droop as if she can't carry the burden of anticipation anymore. The other attorney pushes on, producing what he purports to be private messages between Kody and Robyn that the court can consider. These messages suggest that Kody and Robyn make decisions without the other wives and are small, significant choices that change perception in terms of fairness and trust. Christine gasps softly. A hand rises to cover her mouth. "I can't believe this," she says quietly. Robyn's jaw clamps down, a flicker of guilt or perhaps defensiveness crossing her features. Kody rises slowly, his voice firm but measured. These messages were not intended to betray anyone. They were meant to prevent conflict, to protect the family from unnecessary pain. He stops, waiting for his words to sink in, but the tension in the room is like a physical weight clamping down on him. The opposing lawyer shakes his head, unconvinced, and the judge scribbles notes, frowning as if already anticipating the storm to come. The narrative now shifts briefly into flashback, a quiet night in the family home. Kody and Robyn are whispering in a dimly lit living room, careful not to disturb the others. "I just want to make the best choices for everyone," Kody says softly. Robyn nods, eyes glistening. "I know. But secrecy only creates suspicion. Be careful." Their conversation mirrors tension now playing out in the courtroom and allows the audience to feel an emotional weight behind every statement, every glance, every carefully chosen word. Back in the courtroom, Christine rises, her voice sharp and controlled. "We deserve transparency. Decisions that affect all of us can't be hidden in whispers and texts." Her words cut through the air, commanding attention. Janelle fidgets, Meri's lips tremble, and Kody exhales heavily, feeling the crushing pressure of familial expectations and public scrutiny at once. The session starts to heat up. The opponent presents evidence that nobody was expecting a letter among records of the family, alluding to alliances which perhaps had set the course for the decisions of the past. Gasps resound throughout the room. Robyn bites her lip. Christine narrows her eyes. Janelle leans forward slightly, while Meri's gaze darts from Kody to the judge, unable to equate the calm exterior of her husband with the storm that has brewed over them. Kody looks at his wife's fear, anger, frustration, and unbelief etched on every face. He knows that defending himself and holding them in cohesion can hardly be achieved anymore. The letters, messages, and testimonies work together like a web of suspicion, pulling them deeper into the labyrinth of tension. The first session begins to close, but the energy is electric, the emotional stakes higher than ever. The judge leans forward, eyes narrowing slightly, scanning the evidence with care. "This is significant. Very significant," he murmurs almost to himself. The room is silent for a heartbeat too long. Then, almost imperceptibly, Christine leans back, a cold glint of determination in her eyes. And then, the shocking twist. The lawyer on the other side produces messages no one had seen to this point, private, intimate messages that were suggesting alliances no one could have predicted. The court erupts in a series of quiet murmurs. Robyn looks shocked. Christine's eyes flare. Janelle's hand presses to her mouth, and Meri looks like she's going to buckle under the weight of it all. The courtroom feels colder than it was yesterday, or maybe it's just the weight of anticipation weighing on every heart present. Kody sat up straight, his hands clasped tightly on the table, his jaw clenched as he tried to calm a racing heart. What happened yesterday still clung in the air like some shadow, making every step, every murmur louder. Behind him, his wives were stiff. Robyn, cool but anxious. Christine at a simmer of barely constrained anger. Janelle fidgeting with nervousness. Meri pale, drawn, and distant, as if she was watching some bad dream she couldn't seem to wake up from. The defense attorney stands up again, a spark in his eye, seemingly enjoying the mayhem he is about to cause. "Your Honor, the family has provided testimony and communications that suggest patterns of secrecy, but our investigation has found additional evidence communications, decisions, and undisclosed meetings that directly contradict the claims of transparency within this household." He opens a folder and slides documents across the table. The rustling of papers sounds much louder than it should in the silent chamber. Robyn leans slightly towards Kody and whispers, "Stay steady. No matter what they present, don't let it make you lose control." Her eyes dart nervously to Christine, whose gaze has become sharper, almost predator-like. Kody nods slightly, but the tension in his shoulders betrays the inner turmoil he fights to contain. He knows that every word, every reaction could tip the scales further against him. The first bombshell comes in the form of screenshots, private messages apparently sent between Kody and Robyn over the past year. These messages touch on discussions and decisions made without the full knowledge of the other wives, and now they are used as evidence. The courtroom collectively inhales. Christine's jaw clenches. Her eyes narrow as she studies the screen, shock and pain dancing across her face. Janelle swallows audibly while Meri's hands shake in her lap. The judge looks closely, pen poised over his notepad while the lawyer proceeds to outline the timeline of secret conversations. Kody's internal monologue runs rampant. He remembers quiet nights making decisions, convinced he did what was in the best interest of the family. He recalls apologizing to each wife in private, attempting to explain the reasoning behind his decisions. Each explanation now feels fragile, almost meaningless in the face of public scrutiny. Robyn's voice catches as she tries to explain herself to the court. These messages weren't to hurt anyone. I just wanted to support Kody in making choices that I believed were best for all of us. Her tone is calm, almost pleading in nature, but the quiver in her voice gives away fear. Christine is quick and sharp in response. Best for all of us? How can you say that when your choices are made behind closed doors? Her words slice through the air of the courtroom as she demands attention. The session veers between courtroom intensity and quiet flashbacks of the family home, as Kody remembers a late night in the living room, speaking with Robyn in hushed tones. I just don't want another argument tonight, he says softly, his eyes glancing toward the bedrooms where the other wives sleep. Robyn nods, eyes filled with emotion. I understand, but secrecy creates suspicion, Kody. Be careful. The audience can almost feel the tension in that quiet room, the fragile attempt to keep the peace which now feels far away and unattainable. Matters become even graver inside the courtroom as another witness is brought to the stand, a neighbor who has been privy to the household's dynamics. Have you ever witnessed conflicts or private conversations that could affect the children's welfare or family unity? Asks the lawyer. The neighbor hesitates and then gives a nervous nod in the direction of the Brown family present. Yes, several times. I've seen arguments and secret meetings, things that may affect the way the children view their parents. Christine's lips part slightly, a gasp escaping as the words land like a hammer. This is exactly what I feared, she whispers under her breath. Janelle fidgets in her seat, glancing down while Meri closes her eyes, bracing herself as though trying to shut out the world entirely. Kody's face tightens. He knows the statements could undermine everything he has tried to build, and the pressure is almost unbearable. The opposing lawyer, sensing the emotional crescendo, reaches for a recording device. A hush falls over the courtroom as the first lines of audio crackle to life through the speakers. It's a private conversation between two of the wives discussing strategies, grievances, and hidden resentments. The words are sharp, cutting, filled with betrayal. Christine freezes, face pale as the recording paints a picture she had only suspected but never confirmed. Robyn bites her lip, eyes widening. Janelle whispers under her breath, I can't believe they said that. Meri's hands clutch the edge of the bench, nails digging into wood as though trying to anchor herself in reality. Kody finally stands up, his voice as loud as it ever gets, full of authority and frustration. Enough! You are dragging my family through humiliation and distress. His eyes sweep across the courtroom, locking momentarily with each of his wives. Robyn's eyes fill with softness, her expression a combination of fear and love. Christine glares, unflinching. Janelle's trembling hands go up to her face. Meri's lips quake. The tension is nearly unbearable, thick enough to touch. Every word, every movement, every reaction gets magnified under the scrutiny of the courtroom and cameras recording for public view. An audience is drawn into the drama, feeling the weight of decades of family dynamics compressed into this charged, claustrophobic space. In an instant, the atmosphere in this court changes. Another witness comes forward, one of the children this time, with a notebook in his hand and a quivering small voice. I overheard Mommy and Daddy talking about things that weren't supposed to be for us, he stammers. The courtroom fell silent. The wives looked at each other in shock, fear, and disbelieving horror. Kody swallowed hard as he tried to maintain composure while the judge leaned forward, interested. The child starts to read aloud the messages and observations they have noted. Each sentence is like a brick, landing with more weight on the adults. Christine's hands clench, knuckles white. Robyn whispers softly, It's not what you think. Janelle's eyes well with tears, and Meri seems frozen, unable to breathe as the room absorbs the magnitude of what's being revealed. The session segues into another flashback, this time of Kody sitting alone late at night replaying decisions he has made in private. He remembers the tension, the whispering conversations, the moments of doubt. Was I doing the right thing? Or just protecting myself? He thinks, his eyes staring blankly at the floor. The flashback adds depth to give the audience an understanding of an emotional burden he carries, humanizing him even as the evidence mounts against him in court. Back to the present, the judge's face darkens as he scans the new evidence. "We will have to consider this material carefully," he states, measured in tone but weighted with the gravity of it all. The sense of tension can almost be felt hanging palpably in the court air. Everyone present can feel it. The wives, the legal teams, the few family friends in the gallery. The session ends with a final, shocking reveal. The opposing lawyer introduces messages that reflect an ulterior alliance nobody would have expected, and it's a secret that could fully destabilize the family. The courtroom erupts in gasps. Robyn's lips press together. Christine's eyes flash with vindication and anger. Janelle softly murmurs, "This can't be real." And Meri looks like the weight of it all may crush her. The courtroom feels smaller, as if every noise is magnified, every movement accentuated. The weight of what had finally come out in the previous session hangs heavy on the Brown family and everyone present. Kody is staring ahead, hands folded over his stomach, his jaw clenched as he attempts to hold himself together. The past secrets, messages, alliances, it all just looms over him like a storm ready to break. Christine gets up first, her face pale but her eyes ablaze. She stands up abruptly, the chair scraping loudly on the floor. "I've had enough whispers, hidden messages, and secret meetings to last me a lifetime." She raises her voice, shaking with anger held just beneath the surface. "I want the truth and not excuses." Robyn's eyes glitter as she leans in toward Kody. "Christine, please, don't let this destroy us," she whispers, the desperation in her voice soft, almost pleading. Kody swallows, nodding, feeling the weight of keeping the family together as the walls around them crumble. The judge calls the court to order, banging his gavel. The silence is heavy and stifling until a child is called to the stand. In an instant, the attention of the room shifts. The gallery quiets, the wives freeze, and even the attorneys pause. Holding a small notebook, a child trembles slightly while approaching the microphone. I wrote down some things I overheard," the child begins, voice small but steady. "Things that you weren't supposed to hear." The words hang in the air, heavy with implication. Kody leans forward, trying to mask the unease in his face. Robyn bites her lip. Christine's eyes widen. Janelle's hand trembles as she presses it against her mouth, and Meri's body seems to shrink into itself. And then the child begins to read. Late-night conversations of heated arguments, whispered threats, and secret decisions never intended for young ears. Each line falls like a hammer, exposing emotional fissures within this family that have been there for years. Christine gasps audibly. Kody swallows hard, the weight of responsibility pressing down upon him like never before. Robyn's hand reaches for his in a silent plea for strength, calm. The opposing lawyer smiled thinly, his eyes bright with the sense of tension reaching its zenith. "Your Honor," he said, his voice even but razor-sharp, "these statements corroborate our prior evidence of a pattern of manipulation and secrecy in the household that could affect custody and family dynamics." The courtroom murmured. The tension grew thicker with each tick of the second. The room suddenly shifts. A recording plays. A private conversation between two of the wives caught months earlier, full of whispers, accusations, and subtle threats. The audio crackles, the words sharp and biting. Christine freezes, eyes wide, hearing exactly what she had feared but never confirmed. Robyn looks horrified while Janelle's lips part in disbelief. Meri's hands clutch at the edge of the bench, nails digging into wood as if she needs something solid to hold on to. Kody finally rises, voice louder and more forceful than before. "Enough. This isn't just a legal battle anymore, it's tearing my family apart." His words echo through the room, carrying both authority and desperation. He looks at each wife, searching for support, for understanding, but the room is fractured, every look a mix of fear, anger, and resentment. The story cuts for a moment to a flashback, with Kody and Robyn in the dark living room several months prior. "I just wanted to avoid another fight tonight," Kody says in a hushed tone. Robyn nods tearfully. "But secrets can break the trust, Kody. Be careful." The flashback adds context as to the gravity of decisions made behind closed doors, lighting up the emotional stakes of every message, every whispered conversation. Back in the courtroom, the opposing lawyer presses on, introducing evidence that one wife may have been manipulating situations for her own advantage. Christine's eyes flash and a vein pulses at her temple. Robyn's lips quiver, torn between guilt and incredulity. Janelle mutters under her breath, "I always felt something was off," as Meri stands frozen as though it has robbed her even of the ability to react. As testimony continues, the child's statements are corroborated by a neighbor who claims to have overheard arguments and suspicious late-night meetings. The courtroom is silent, but charged, each person feeling the gravity of the evidence piling higher. Kody's hands are so tightly clenched that his knuckles have turned white. He looks toward Robyn, whose eyes plead silently with him to remain calm. Christine gets up again, her voice shaking but determined. "I've been patient, but I will no longer allow secrets and lies to continue on and dictate my family's future." The words cut like a whip across the room. Robyn flinches, Janelle presses a hand to her mouth, and Meri's eyes fill with tears as Kody exhales slowly, trying to anchor himself in the chaos. Then, the opposing lawyer reveals the most shocking piece of evidence yet, a series of private messages from one another that indicate alliances no one expected, communications that suggest some decisions were deliberately kept hidden in order to manipulate family dynamics. Gasps fill the room. Christine's eyes blaze, Robyn's face pales, and Janelle whispers softly, "This can't be happening." Meri looks paralyzed, unable to process the magnitude of the revelations. The camera cuts to the audience in the gallery of friends, supporters, and observers. Many begin to whisper to one another in shock at the intensity of the drama playing out before them. Every reaction adds weight to the scene. Each gasp, each heart's tremble serves to make the moment utterly impossible to take one's eyes from. Kody gets up once more, voice steadier this time, though the tension is palpable. "We've all made mistakes. But exposing these secrets in front of everyone, especially the children, is tearing us apart in ways you cannot understand," he says, looking for acknowledgement toward the judge. His eyes flicker over each wife, Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri, in search of unity in the storm, finding only fractured pieces. The story now segues into another flashback, showing a confrontation months earlier in the kitchen. Christine and Robyn argue in hushed tones, voices low but tense. "You think you can manipulate everything without consequences?" Christine hisses. Robyn's response is measured, almost pleading. "I never meant for it to hurt anyone. I just wanted to protect Kody and the family." The flashback adds depth, showing that the current courtroom drama is not in a vacuum, but is a result of months of built-up tension and unspoken resentments. As the session wears on, the courtroom becomes a pressure cooker. The opposing lawyer presses his advantage, testimony, and evidence layering upon layer, building an image of a family divided by secrets and subtle betrayals. Christine's composure cracks periodically, her voice rising with emotion. Robyn's support for Kody does not waver, but fear shades every expression. Janelle's hands shake, eyes darting between the adults. Meri seems to shrink into herself, absorbing the chaos silently as if trying to disappear altogether. The session reaches its peak when the judge leans forward, scanning the newest batch of evidence with a frown. "This case has taken a direction I did not anticipate," he says in a measured tone of voice heavy with implication. "We may need to reconsider custody, and I'll be reviewing all evidence thoroughly before any decisions can be made." The weight of his words settles over the room like a storm cloud. Each member of the Brown family is frozen, each processing the implications in their way. Kody exhales slowly, tension marked across his face, knowing that the family he has tried so hard to protect now stands on the brink of collapse. Robyn reaches for his hand under the table, squeezing it tight, a silent plea for strength and calm. Christine's glare pierces through the room, mixing shades of anger and betrayal with determination. Janelle and Meri both look shaken, each lost in the turmoil of emotions stirred by the revelation. The courthouse feels heavier today, almost as if the very walls bear down on everyone in it. Kody sits at the table, his eyes fixed straight ahead, his jaw clenched, his hands clasped so tightly that his knuckles are white. The tension that filled the sessions is still hanging in the air like smoke, thick and suffocating. Robyn sits beside him, her fingers nervously intertwined, looking at him every so often with fear and silent reassurance in her eyes. Christine is stiff, her eyes ablaze with anger and incredulity. Janelle fidgets constantly, always shifting in her seat, while Meri is pale, almost haunted, as though the weight of the revelations has left her drained. The gavel comes down sharp. There is immediate silence, except for the rustling of papers and some coughing from the gallery. The judge, calmly authoritative, surveys the room with an unflinching gaze. "We are here to continue to review evidence and testimony," He starts in a measured tone. It is imperative that all parties present full disclosure. Partial truths or withheld information will not be tolerated. The opposing lawyer rises, a confident smirk playing at the corner of his lips. Your Honor, as we continue, we will present further evidence of internal family dynamics that may have influenced custody decisions and household decisions. He slides another folder across the table, a folder so thick it seems it would house decades of secrets. The courtroom collectively leans in, drawn by the anticipation of what might come next. Her voice barely above a whisper, Robyn leans in toward Kody. Stay calm. No matter what happens, we'll face this together. Kody nods subtly, swallowing hard, though the tension in his shoulders betrays the weight he carries. He knows that every word, every reaction could be used against him or the family. First shock of the day comes when a new witness stands before them, a former family assistant who claims to have observed subtle manipulations and private conversations to influence family dynamics. I've seen interactions, the assistant testifies, voice calm but unwavering, that suggests some decisions were deliberately kept from certain family members to sway outcomes in favor of others. Christine's hands clench and her jaw tightens. I knew it. I just knew it. She mutters under her breath, eyes darting to Robyn, who looks back nervously. Janelle's fingers drum against her lap while Meri seems frozen, unable to process the implications. Kody exhales, trying to anchor himself as the weight of the revelations threatens to topple the fragile equilibrium he's been desperately maintaining. The opposing lawyer continues presenting text messages, emails, and diary entries that show alliances no one expected. Some messages disclose private discussions about finances and custody spacing arrangements not shared with all wives, giving an impression of favoritism. Gasps ripple through the courtroom. Anger and vindication flare in Christine's eyes while Robyn's face tightens, scrambling to explain her side. Janelle murmurs softly, almost to herself, I knew something was off. Meri's lips quiver as she clasps her hands, silent tears welling in her eyes. Kody rises, voice strong but strained. I never meant to hurt anybody. Every decision was made with the family's well-being in mind, he says, looking at each wife. Robyn squeezes his hand under the table, offering silent support, but the fractured gazes from Christine, Janelle, and Meri make it clear that healing will not come easily. The court then plays another recording, a private conversation between the two wives discussing betrayals and hidden strategies. The audio crackles, sharp words punctuating the tense silence. Christine freezes, her face pale with the betrayals laid bare. Robyn's lips pressed together, a flash of guilt and worry crossing her features. Janelle's eyes widen while Meri clutches the bench as if it could anchor her amidst the chaos. The session momentarily shifts into flashback mode, Kody in the living room in the middle of the night talking in hushed tones to Robyn. We have to find a way to keep peace, he whispers. Robyn nods, her eyes shining. I understand, but secrecy breeds suspicion. Be careful, Kody. The audience can almost feel the weight of every whispered word, the tension of private conversations that now seem far more consequential than ever. Back in the courtroom, the opposing lawyer drops a bombshell. Emails revealing plans to favor certain family members over others in household and financial decisions. The courtroom reacts instantly. Christine's lips pressed tightly together, eyes blazing. Robyn's hand shakes as she reaches for Kody's. Janelle whispers under her breath, "This is unbelievable." And Meri slumps slightly, overwhelmed by the depth of the deception. The tension escalates further when a new piece of evidence is introduced. A hidden diary entry from one of the wives, revealing long-standing feelings of frustration, betrayal, and fear of being sidelined. The judge leans forward, eyes narrowing. "This is significant," he murmurs, tone low but firm. We need to consider the emotional and psychological impacts of these actions on all parties involved, especially the children. Kody lets out a slow breath and looks around at the women who once seemed to unite under a shared purpose. Now the fractures are visible, raw, undeniable. Robyn reaches for his hand in a silent plea for calm. Christine's glare is relentless, full of hurt and fury. Janelle's eyes glisten with unshed tears while Meri seems trapped, paralyzed by a storm of emotions she doesn't know how to articulate. The story now goes into another flashback. Christine and Robyn, months prior, arguing in the kitchen in hushed but strained tones. "You think you can manipulate everyone without consequence?" Christine hisses. Robyn responds in a soft, almost pleading tone. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I just wanted to protect the family. This flashback adds depth to the tension now on display, revealing these months and even years of unspoken resentment and miscommunication. The court session gets much tenser. The opposing lawyer reveals one more set of communications texts between Kody and Robyn about making serious decisions without telling the other wives. Christine's hands begin to shake, clutching onto the edge of her chair. Robyn looks guilty and defensive at the same time. Janelle utters in a whisper, I always felt like something was being hidden, while Meri closes her eyes to let the magnitude of what she has heard sink in. Kody gets up again, his voice laced with authority and desperation. Every choice I made was for the sake of the family. I never wanted to betray anyone. His gaze sweeps the room, briefly alighting on each wife as he tries to convey with his eyes the truth of his words. Robyn clutches his hand, silent confirmation that she is behind him. But the coolness in Christine's, Janelle's, and Meri's eyes suggests that trust has been broken, and it will take more than words to restore it. The judge leans forward, his face taut and eyes on the new evidence. We are entering uncharted territory. The implications for custody, family unity, and emotional well-being are more serious than anticipated. He says calmly, but with weight in every word. Silent, each person in the room is held by the seriousness of the moment. The session edges towards its close with the most dramatic revelation yet. A previously hidden letter detailing past alliances, manipulations, and grievances among the wives. Gasps ripple through the courtroom. Robyn's lips have pressed together tightly. Christine's eyes blaze, a mixture of anger and vindication. Janelle whispers softly to herself, I can't believe this, while Meri looks like she may collapse under the weight of the truth. Kody exhales, the tension etched across his face. He knows the family he has fought to keep intact hangs in the balance, the equilibrium impossible to restore. The gavel strikes, an echo of warning. The courthouse is quiet today, but the tension is almost stifling. Kody sits at the table, shoulders tense, hands clasped so tightly his fingers ache. Each of his wives sits beside him, a mixture of anxiety, frustration, and silent fear clearly etched on their faces. Robyn leans slightly toward him, her eyes soft yet concerned, her fingers brushing against his in silent solidarity. Christine's jaw is tight, eyes ablaze, every nerve on edge. Janelle fidgets constantly, bouncing her knee under the table, while Meri looks pale and withdrawn, as if she's carrying the weight of the world upon her shoulders. The judge enters and strikes the gavel sharply. We are going to continue the session today, he says, his voice unflustered but laced with undeniable gravity. I expect all parties to show utmost transparency. Any evasion or omission will be taken seriously. The words hang in the air like a warning, setting the tone for the storm about to unfold. The other lawyer immediately gets up, a smile tugging at the corner of his confident lips. Your Honor, as we progress, we will add further evidence and testimony that may reveal concealed dynamics and alliances in this family that could have influenced decisions taken in the past. He slides a thick folder across the table. The rustle of papers sounds unnaturally loud in the tense courtroom. Kody exhales slowly, looking over at Robyn, who whispers, Stay steady. No matter what they say, we face this together. He nods, making himself breathe slowly, aware that even the most minute of reactions could be scrutinized and twisted. The first witness is a longtime family friend who has known the Brown family for years. Their testimony is delivered in a very calm manner. However, each and every word speaks volumes. I've witnessed interactions that suggest certain decisions were made without the full knowledge of all family members. The witness says, there were moments where alliances formed in private, subtly influencing outcomes and creating friction within the family. Christine's hands clench into fists, nails digging into her palms. I knew it. I knew something was happening behind my back, she mutters under her breath, eyes narrowing at Robyn. Robyn's lips press together tightly as she glances toward Kody with worry. Janelle whispers softly, I always felt something was off, and Meri's shoulders slump, overwhelmed by the revelations. The lawyer then shows screenshots, messages, and emails between Kody and Robyn that suggested decisions were made without the consultation of the other wives. Gasps echo across the courtroom. Christine leans forward, eyes flashing with anger and disbelief. Robyn's expression is tense, a mixture of defensiveness and regret. Janelle covers her mouth, whispering, "I can't believe this," while Meri's eyes fill with tears, her fingers trembling as she clasps them tightly in her lap. Kody finally rises, voice firm but measured. "Every decision I made was with the family's well-being in mind," he says, eyes sweeping across the room. Robyn's hand reaches for his under the table, a quiet gesture of support. Christine's glare is steadfast, and the tension between them crackles visibly. Janelle fidgets, unable to hide her anxiety, while Meri seems almost frozen, lost in the weight of the moment. The courtroom shifts as another witness is called this time, a neighbor who has seen the family's interactions over the years. Their testimony adds layers of complexity, revealing overheard arguments, late-night meetings, and subtle manipulations that paint a picture of a family struggling under the surface, even when appearances suggested harmony. The opposing lawyer presents a new set of evidence recordings of private conversations between the wives, discussing alliances, grievances, and hidden strategies. The audio crackles, with each word landing like a hammer onto the fracture in the family dynamic. Christine freezes, her face pale as the words confirm suspicions she had glimpsed but never quite seen. Robyn bites her lip, eyes wide. Janelle whispers, "I never thought it would be this serious," while Meri clutches the bench, her eyes welling with tears. Kody rises again, voice louder, carrying authority and desperation. "Enough! This has gone far enough. I never intended to hurt anyone, and I never wanted secrets to destroy our family," he says, glancing at each wife. Robyn squeezes his hand, silently urging him to remain calm. Christine's eyes burn with fury, Janelle's hands tremble, and Meri's expression is one of sheer devastation. The story cuts briefly to a flashback. Kody and Robyn are sitting in the living room late into the night, speaking in hushed tones. "I just wanted to prevent another argument tonight," Kody says softly. Robyn nods, her eyes glistening. "I understand. But secrecy breeds suspicion. Be careful, Kody." This flashback adds emotion, showing that every decision made in private now has public consequences, amplifying tension within the courtroom. Back in the present, the opposing lawyer pulls out yet another bombshell. Diary entries from one of the wives detailing frustration, betrayal, and fear of being sidelined. Christine's face hardens in vindication. Robyn's lips purse in a tense line. Janelle whispers softly, while Meri's eyes glaze over in tears. The courtroom is charged. Every person in it feels the weight of these revelations. Kody rises again, tone steady but weighted with emotion. "I have tried to do what I believed was right for all of us," he says, looking between his wives. "But I see now that even the best intentions can be misunderstood. I accept accountability for my actions, but we cannot allow this family to fall apart over misunderstandings and hidden resentments." Robyn's hand squeezes his, a silence of solidarity, but the tension in the room is palpable. The courtroom hearing becomes increasingly tense as the opposing lawyer reveals the final piece of evidence for the day. A hidden letter that details past alliances and manipulations among the wives. The courtroom reacts immediately. Christine's eyes flash, Robyn's face pales, Janelle whispers, "This is unreal." And Meri looks like she might collapse under the weight of it all. The gavel strikes sharply as the judge leans forward, his eyes narrowing. "This case has taken a turn I did not anticipate," says the judge in a voice low yet heavy with consequence. "We will need to review all communications and testimonies carefully before proceeding." It is clear that there are layers of complexity and emotional stakes far beyond what was initially presented. Kody exhales slowly, the tension etched into every line of his face. He knows that the family he's struggled so desperately to protect is standing on the brink. Robyn's hand squeezes his in a silent plea for calm, for cohesion. Christine gazes razor sharp, her stare unwavering. Janelle's fingers tremble and Meri's eyes are bright with tears. The family is fractured, the storm far from over.